Hey, what's going on, everyone, and welcome to Down the Block Sports. I'm your host, Alec Watt, alongside Patrick Renee, and today we're going to talk about a trade this offseason in Major League Baseball that the team's probably looking back at thinking, we probably shouldn't have made that trade. But before we talk about the Cubs, let me welcome back Patrick Renee to the channel. Welcome back, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How you been, Walt?
I'm doing well, man. It's been fun here at the channel so far. I'm happy we got you up to speed now. We're going to do some baseball talk here. And Patrick, today we're going to talk about the Chicago Cubs because they're probably thinking right now, we probably shouldn't have traded Yu Darvish to the San Diego Padres. Just a reminder for all you guys, Darvish was traded with Victor Caratini to the Padres for Zach Davies, Reginald Perciado. I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly. Owen Cassie, Ismael Mania, and Yason Santana. Those are not, none of them were in the top 10 in San Diego's loaded farm system. So an interesting move that said they were going to rebuild, but Patrick, they can't because they're tied in first place in the NL Central 60 games into the season.
I know. They're what are they, 33 and 23 or something? They're killing
something
it.
Like that. They're just over a third way through the season, and you say we're going to rebuild. They now can't, and they have some studs they could get some great things in return for. But if Hoyer thinks he's going to trade these star players while they're in first place, he is freaking crazy.
Yeah, no, there's no way he's doing that. That's why I suggested that this might have been the worst transaction of the 2020 offseason. Is it technically the 2021 offseason?
It's both.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But we know what you mean. We know what you mean.
I mean, they would have had a three-headed monster. They have the offense now all loaded up. They've got the boys back. Bryant is back. They have a surprisingly nice bullpen with Craig Kimbrell making a return, and they've got some other kids in there that have been getting the job done. But their team pitching staff, their ERA right now as a team is, I think, in the 4s.
Yeah,
and
no, they're
with Darvish. If they had Darvish, they would be a lot better off.
So did you think the Cubs would be this good this year?
No,
I did not. Because for them, a best case scenario was Chris Bryant being elite, which he's been. He has the chance to start for the National League at, he plays all over the place, but at a position in the All-Star game.
Yeah.
And then Craig Kimbrell locking down the ninth inning in the bullpen. You know, you knew you were going to get power production from Javier Baez. You knew you were going to get solid production from Anthony Rizzo. But the two X factors for the Cubs this year were Bryant and Kimbrell, and both of them have been nasty this year for the Cubs.
Yeah, just going down the list of their 5 starters, we've got a 4.59 ERA for Hendricks. Alzolay has a 3.64. Davies,
Alzolay's been a surprise, though. Alzolay's been good.
He has. He's the only guy in that bullpen that throws over 95, too. Just saying.
Yeah.
But Zach Davies, the guy they got in return, 4.95 ERA.
But what were you expecting out of Davies? I mean, he's a guy that was good last year in San Diego when he was out of the division in a 60-game series. But remember, he pitched for the Brewers for so many years and had an ERA above 4 all those years. So for the Cubs, when you were expecting, what were you expecting? This guy's – everyone knows him in the division. And when they made that move, it just screamed rebuild. So now if you're the Cubs, you don't have that deep of a farm system. You can't trade 3 guys who have expiring deals. And, Pat, you're almost forced to buy because the Dodgers are loaded once they're fully healthy. The Padres, who they are seeing, I believe, this week, are loaded. But the Cubs have had success against them, too, this season, but the playoffs is a whole different animal. There's potentially 4 buyers in their division with the Reds playing much better. The Cardinals being average, but I think will play better. And the Brewers are tied with the Cubs right now in first place. And don't forget the Mets out there who are definitely going to do something at the deadline. Steve Cohen's made it clear they're going to make a move. So if they want to remain competitive, they have to keep their guys, risk losing them in free agency, and trade away from a not-so-deep farm system to build for a team to win for one season.
Yeah, they put themselves in a tough spot. I think they should have just pushed all in. They should have traded – if they're going to trade Darvish, if you're trading your ace, just trade them all. Yes, you could play devil's advocate. He's 34, has an injury history, has pitched a lot in his career. But this guy is a top 20 pitcher in the league. Yu Darvish, I think he's a top 20 pitcher in the league, and you're gonna go. Imagine if the Cubs see the Padres in the playoffs, said
They
Hendrick
possibly
versus
could.
Darvish, they're gonna be
Because-
kicking themselves.
Think about it. If, say, the Dodgers or the Giants win that division, the Padres finish in second, play a wild card game.
Yeah,
I don't think the Cubs win the National League, so it'd probably have to be them both winning a round, depending on how seedings go. But if the Cubs were to face really anyone right now in the National League, of the contenders, they might have the worst staff.
No, I think they easily
it's not
do.
better than the Mets. It's
No.
not better than the Dodgers, Padres, Giants, Cardinals, Brewers. If they want to actually do something, which they're almost forced to do,
Yeah,
how big of a pitcher do you go after at the deadline? Because now they're forced to, because they don't have Darvish on the team anymore.
yeah, you're almost forced to go get like somebody on an expiring contract, but you're not going to have much to deal, like you said. I mean, I could picture them going for like a Max Scherzer, but he's not going anywhere. Yeah.
No, I think he's absolutely getting traded.
Oh, you do?
Absolutely. What's he doing in Washington?
We'll have to save that for another video. But
I mean, that would be a move they'd have to make.
Yeah.
But man, what do you think their record would be right now if they still had Darvish on the team? They wouldn't be tied in first place.
They'd have. Well, Darvish right now is 6-1 with an ERA of 2.5. So let's just say they'd be in 12 extra starts. They'd probably be 12 another 6 wins up. So around 39 and 24. Yeah. They could have had the best team. They could have had one of the best teams in the National League if they had kept Darvish. And the only player coming in return from Major League, Zach Davies. I mean, that's tough. That's really tough.
Yeah. No, but the moves made it seem like they were going to go through a rebuild. They added 4 guys who were below the age of 20. They were restocking deeper into the system, getting more young talent in the organization, and they're sitting here in first place, tied with the Brewers in a pretty good division. What are you expecting this year? Because we are 60 games through the season. You can't really define a team through that amount of time. Like a couple years ago, the Washington Nationals were like 19-33 or something like that, turned it around and won a World Series. You look at like I mentioned before, they have 4 teams in this division that can realistically win it. Obviously, the Pittsburgh Pirates are the team that is not, but the Reds are up and down. The Brewers struggle offensively. The Cardinals are playing below average. The Cubs are exceeding expectations. Pat, what are you expecting out of this division in the second half? Because this next month's going to determine a lot, because that's going to determine what these teams do at the deadline.
To be honest, I see the Cubs making the playoffs. I really do. I really do. I think this offense is going to keep rolling, and I think the back of the bullpen is going to keep shutting games down. I think unless they lose 2 weeks in a row, which I don't see that happening, they're going to be. I don't even know if they're buying at the deadline though. They might just go in with the chips they got.
I think they have to get a pitcher.
Yeah. Based on
the
their
National League has too many guys. Like if you play the Cubs, you have to face Darvish and Snell. You place the Dodgers, you have to face. I mean, the list goes on and on there because they can use some of those guys. Also in the bullpen, you play the Mets, you have to face DeGrom. You face the Cardinals, you have to face Flaherty, Brewers, Woodruff, and Burns.
Yeah.
I mean, are you going to throw Alzolay out there? Are you going to throw Hendricks in those games? I mean, if they want any chance to do something here in the playoffs, which they're forced to at least go towards it, because they're not going to be able to make these trades. They can't trade Baez right now. You can't just trade Baez and not Bryant.
Oh.
You can't just trade Bryant and not Baez.
Unless they do some kind of shenanigans where they trade Bryant, receive a pitcher, and a young third baseman in return.
See, but I think trading Bryant would destroy the locker room.
You think so?
I think that'd be stupid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's the fine line they're going to have to walk on. It's going to be tough for Jed Hoyer and the rest of that staff. It's tough.
They're going to have to prove it. Their schedule coming up at San Diego, first St. Louis, at New York New York Mets for a 4-game series, versus Miami, versus Cleveland. So those 2 teams are sneaky pitching wise.
Mm-hmm.
At Los Angeles, at Milwaukee the week before the deadline.
So they've got a big test coming up here. I think if we see them go below 500. You think they might ship some pieces?
See, they have to have a horrible month to trade off to sell.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yep.
I think the Cubs in-house want to sell, but no, they can't.
Yes, 100%. Jed Hoyer sitting there saying,
Like, it's such a bad spot to be in. If they have a horrible month, I can see the fan base being like, fine, let's rebuild the system, because you know they're going to be upset if they get eliminated in the playoffs and one of those two guys leaves in free agency.
It's almost
then
guaranteed.
You look back like, oh, here we go. What's up?
It's almost guaranteed, I think, that either Bryant or Baez is gone. It's almost a guarantee for me.
In free agency, exactly.
In free agency.
So if you pass this deadline, you get them for nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Whew, it's sticky sitchy. That's for sure. I mean, they could.
It's going to be crazy.
They could do. I mean, they don't. The Yankees don't really have the young pitching that they would want in return, but they could do something like Gleyber Torres for Baez and a pitcher.
Yeah, I don't think that's
try to
do that.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But they could,
I don't think the Yankees are a weird. That's a whole other story for a whole other day. But I don't think going after Baez with that type of contract makes too much sense.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, the Cubs, what they expect, where they thought they'd be is not where they are right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they're looking at itself. If we had that ace at the top of the rotation, imagine going into a series, Darvish Snell.
Yeah.
Darvish DeGrom. Darvish Buehler.
Mm-hmm. Instead,
Darvish
it's Hendricks
Gosman. Gosman looks like one of the best pitchers in baseball this year. Darvish Flaherty.
Instead, in a wild card game, they're going with Kyle Hendricks.
Like how much trade value would Darvish have going into next offseason? Because obviously they've moved him with the sole purpose of, one, rebuilding, and two, maximizing his value. Mm-hmm. He was a pitcher that nearly won a Cy Young last year.
Yeah.
You knew he was going to be good next year, just wouldn't have as many years of control on the contract.
Yeah.
But how much lower would it really be?
34-year-old. Yeah, I know. And it's not like they got an unbelievable return either for a pitcher of that caliber.
And they got no top 100 prospects.
Exactly.
None of top 10 prospects. Hoyer made a very interesting. That's why it's been such a weird time for the Jed Hoyer era. Mm-hmm. He makes a huge trade, doesn't get the top prospects, has a team that's actually pretty good. The X Factors perform to their top level. We're about a third of the way through the season. They're tied in first place, wishing they had a top level starting pitcher, which they traded in the offseason.
It's almost
in a farm system that isn't very deep to begin with.
It's almost a comedy, man.
That is unbelievable. Now they have 3 stars on expiring deals, and they can't trade any of them.
Yep. It's too bad.
It's going to be an interesting month here in Major League Baseball, but the Cubs are definitely looking back right now thinking we should not have traded Yu Darvish.
Yeah, one of the worst moves in recent history from my vantage point.
That is just flat out unbelievable. Well, that's going to be it for this episode here on Down the Block Sports. I'm Alec Walt alongside Patrick Murnane, one of our newer contributors here on Down the Block Sports, talking more Major League Baseball. Pat, welcome back. I appreciate you joining me, man. This was fun.
Thank you. I'll be back. You know.
Awesome. What do you think about the Chicago Cubs? Should they have traded Yu Darvish? Should they not have traded Yu Darvish? What should they do at the deadline? Feel free to comment that below. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Down the Block Sports for more of our exclusive content. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you very soon.